Hey everyone, welcome to my guide for how to get all of the trophies and achievements in Metaphor ReFantazio. I'm going to be playing on the PlayStation 5 version, but this guide will work for all versions of the game. This will be kind of a unique guide because you have to play through this game twice in order to get all of the trophies, but I'm going to format this guide in a way that whether this is your first playthrough or second playthrough, this guide will work for you. I'm also going to avoid most of the dialogue and cutscenes and story elements, number one, to make this guide go faster and smoother. And if this is your first time going through the game, I want to avoid any of the spoilers because this story is really great in my opinion. The first thing that the game asks you to do is to provide a name for the person who is guiding the protagonist. This is not the character's name, this is essentially your name, the person who is guiding them and controlling them. In this case, I'm going to put in the name of Matador. And then it's going to say, are you sure you want that to be the name? Yes. And then it'll ask you a question. It doesn't matter what you choose. I'll just say that's right. And after that, we get to choose our difficulty. Now, in your first playthrough, you can choose storyteller mode. It makes it very easy and you can get most of the trophies. However, if this is your second playthrough, you must choose at least the easy difficulty because that will allow you to take on the final challenge of the game in New Game Plus. Because I want this guide to be applicable to both the first and second playthroughs, I'm going to choose easy difficulty and we'll get started from here. Some basic controls: you can run around using the joysticks, you can also hit circle to roll and to dodge enemy attacks. What we're going to do is to proceed through this area all the way to the end. You have a fairy that helps you out whose name is Gallica, and she has an ability called Fey Sight. If you press the L2 button or the left trigger button, she will scan the area around you, providing more details on the enemies and the environment around you. For the first part here, we're going to avoid all of these enemies because they're too tough for us. We're going to run to the southeast corner of the map up this hill. If you look at the minimap in the bottom left corner, you'll see a flashing red diamond. Just go in that direction. You'll go through some more story elements, and then you want to ultimately keep heading toward that large upside down triangle in the distance. On the way there, you're going to see a skeleton on the ground. We can run right inside of its rib cage, and you'll see a couple of these glowing blue dots on the ground. These are items, and it's very important that you pick them up because they contain some items that are very important for getting trophies, so make sure that you always pick up everything that you see on the ground like that. Once you've collected those two items, we're going to keep heading toward that large triangle in the distance, and then that will complete this section of the game. We'll be able to skip through some more story and some cool cutscenes, and we'll find ourselves inside of town. This one is called Grand Trand. In cities, you can save the game freely whenever you want to. In dungeons, you have to find certain save points. What you can also do is hit R1 to pull up a map of the area to see exactly where you're going. Our destination is straight ahead of us down the road. What we want to do first, though, is to farm out a trophy. If you press the triangle or Y button, you'll talk to Gallica and get advice about what to do. You need to talk to her 100 times. All you have to do is press triangle or Y and then press circle or B to cancel out of that. You can do it back and forth a bunch of times in a row. You have to do it 100 times to get the Hey Listen trophy, and it only takes about a minute or so to do that. So once you've got that trophy, let's run straight down the road and we'll get into another cutscene. For the most part, the dialogue options in this game don't really change the story at all. They just provide a little bit of flavor or variety, but it doesn't matter what you choose. For the most part, you can just choose the first option every single time. There are some instances where that's different, but I'll point those out as we go along. And after that cutscene, we'll continue down the road in front of us until we go into the next area. There'll be a loading screen where it shows you where we're going next. We're going to the Regalith Grand Cathedral area. After talking to Gallica, we're going to run straight ahead, and then we're going to stick over toward the left side. As soon as we go past these merchants, we're going to turn around, go up the stairs, and we'll go into the recruitment center. There's two questions that they're going to ask you here. The first one doesn't really matter. I'm just going to say, I need the money. When they ask you the second question though, pay attention because this one actually matters because it affects your stats as a character at the beginning of the game. It's going to ask you basically what's so special about you. What you want to say is, I've got a sharp mind. That increases your magic stat, and that's going to be helpful a little bit later on. So say that, and then you're going to get to choose whatever character name you want. It does not matter what you choose. Canonically, the correct name for this character is Will, so I'm going to put that in and then keep going from here. Then after some cutscenes, we're going to find ourselves in the recruitment center, look at what direction the crowd is looking, and then go through the doorway on their right. You're going to find a glowing gold spot here, and it's a gold beetle. We've got to collect a lot of these throughout the game to get another trophy, so grab that gold beetle and then head back out into the back of the line and choose to join the queue. There's going to be some more cutscenes, and we'll advance quite a bit of the story here. We're going to go from June the 2nd all the way to June the 5th at nighttime, where we take control of our character once again. We'll have a short conversation with Gallica and our new friend Strohl, and then we're going to proceed to enter the northern border fort. Let's run forward and then go into the big doors at the top. As you run forward, you're going to be ambushed by a large and weird looking enemy, and it will take you through some tutorials to teach you about the combat in this game. Number one, there's two combat modes. There's active combat, which is what we're in right now. If you run toward the enemy and hit them by either pressing the square button or X, then you're able to hurt the enemy and deplete their stun gauge. If you can completely deplete that, then the enemy will be stunned, and you can press the triangle button to initiate combat. When you do that, you get the stunning trophy for the first time that you accomplish that. Now it'll teach you a little bit more about the turn-based combat. Number one, there are different turns that you have, as denoted by the turn icons at the top of the screen that look like blue crystals. Also, if you press the L2 button or the left trigger button, you're going to bring up an enemy information screen that tells you about what the enemy is strong or weak to. Going from left to right, there's slash, pierce, strike, fire, ice, lightning, wind, light, and dark types of attacks. We don't know what they are yet, whether it's strong or weak against this enemy, so they're all question marks. What we can do is just press triangle to use Mage Fire. It's going to eliminate this enemy no problem, and we're going to get our results screen. We have an Unscathed Triumph, which gives us a bonus, experience, and money, all that good stuff, and you get that every time you complete the battle without taking any damage. And then you'll see your growth in terms of gaining levels, and that's all good. So we want to keep doing that as much as we can. I skipped ahead a little bit so you can see the entire map here. Normally it will unveil itself as you run through the area. The blue dots here are items, just like inside the rib cage in the desert. It's the same types of things. What we can do is turn around toward the right, and we're going to run down this hallway, and we can grab this item by the boxes here, and then we can continue on through this area, picking up those different blue items off the ground, and we can also attack the enemies. You'll want to make sure that you're attacking the enemies in active combat mode, and then stun them before you hit that triangle or Y button to initiate the squad-based combat. What you want to do is get to the point where you complete 50 battles as Unscathed Triumphs, and you also want to get that initial attack where you stun the enemy and go into battle that way 100 times. It takes a little while to do that, but early in the game, if you're diligent about making sure you're stunning enemies before fighting them, you should be able to get through this no problem. Down inside this part, we have an enemy that looks like a tooth, kind of a weird monster design. But all we're going to do is to hit square once we're in the turn-based combat. The protagonist will run forward, slash him, and end the fight. Let's keep going toward the end of the hall. There's going to be one more monster down here that we can take out, another one of these teeth monsters, and once he's defeated, then what we want to do is go over toward the left side of the jail. There's going to be a jail door that we can open up to go inside, and that will allow us to go in and grab the item in here. So let's open up that door, run inside, and grab the item back behind those boxes. The boxes are destructible, so feel free to destroy them if you want to. Sometimes that is necessary to proceed through the dungeon. Now let's backtrack the way that we came, and we're going to go back out where we fought the large monster inside of the egg. Once we're out here, we'll turn to the right, and we're going to run through the doors in the back. In this area, we're going to see that there's another large monster here, and it's going to teach us about surprising enemies. If we can sneak up from behind them and attack them, then we will instantly be able to break their stun gauge and be able to initiate that turn-based combat. So sneak up behind them when they're not looking and then attack them. Just one attack will be enough to stun them, and then we can go into squad battle from here. Just like before, they'll take big damage to start when we ambush them, and then one mage fire will be enough to finish them off. And at this point, I did get my very first level. I went from level 1 to level 2, and when we do that, we get to assign our points when we level up for our stats. You can see that the magic stat is higher than the other ones. That's because of the choice we made at the recruitment center. The blue stat for strength is what the game already gave us. I'm going to give one more point into the magic stat, raising it up to 8. So now we have a lot of magic, and that's very good for the enemies that are weak to magic around here. We'll grab the item off of the ground, and then we'll proceed up the stairs toward the top. There's going to be a dog enemy that we can attack and take out very quickly as well. This guy doesn't take a whole lot of effort to destroy, just ambush him and then press the normal attack button to finish him off for another unscathed triumph. Now we're going to go into the circular staircase tower. We're going to run up all the way to the top. There is a door on the right side as you go up. Ignore that for now. Keep going all the way up because there's another item at the very top of this area. Now we're going to turn around and run back down the stairs, and we want to go through the door that's now on the left side. So once we go through there, we're going to have a little bit of a scene. We're going to then look at the map of this area that I've already filled out for you, and we'll see that there's an item behind us and to the right. So let's go ahead and grab that real quick. When we're going there, there is going to be a dog enemy. We're going to attack him, and then we're going to finish him off. And this is actually where I did get up to level 3. So once again, I get to assign a stat point to something. I'm going to keep prioritizing magic right now, so the game already gave me 1 point in magic. I'll give a second point, raising my total to 10 here. And now we'll grab this item in the back. We'll turn around and run outside, sticking over toward the right hand side. There's going to be a door over here in the wall. We're going to sneak into here, and then we're going to run toward the back. There are a couple enemies around here. We can finish them off quickly, and then we're going to grab the item in the back corner. In combat, we can only control the protagonist, and Strohl will operate independently, so he will either do a normal attack or mage fire, depending on whatever he wants to do at that time. Let's grab the item in the back corner and then turn around so that we can leave this room. And once we're outside, we're going to attack this enemy. We'll get the stun from behind, and then it just takes one more of those mage fires to finish him off. As we go through dungeons, we normally have to be pretty mindful about how much magic we're actually casting. Our MP is a somewhat finite resource, and it can run out, and it is a little bit more difficult to regain that than it is to regain health. So be mindful of that, but for now we're going to run down the stairs here, and we're going to grab this item. Keep going down the stairs, and when you turn to the right, there's going to be some dogs in this area. There's nothing new or interesting about these fights. They're just as they were before, and I'm going to skip fights throughout this playthrough when there's nothing more that I need to say or to show you about them. So once those enemies are defeated, we can go to the back corner. Behind some barrels is going to be another tooth enemy. We can quickly dispatch him and then grab the item that he was guarding back in the corner. This item is a Magla pill, and it allows us to refill some of our MP. That's very useful. We don't have to do it right now, but we will be saving it for a later time. Let's go back up the stairs and then go through the door at the top. We're going to go through a variety of cutscenes, and then we're going to be put into our first real boss fight. This is Honeybee, and I absolutely love his design because of all of the symbolism that gets packed into just this one monster's appearance. It's absolutely stunning. When we begin the fight, our attacks do almost no damage to him, just 1, maybe 3 at the most. It's not very good. On the other hand, he's able to attack us 2 times every turn, and it does a lot of damage to us. Now, this isn't an unwinnable fight by any stretch of the imagination, even though it feels like that to begin with. All we have to do is to survive a few rounds until Strohl gets knocked down. I'm going to invite you to pause the video until the cutscene plays out after that point, and then when the fight resumes, then you can unpause this video and keep playing along too. So here's where Strohl gets knocked down. Feel free to pause it and then resume after the cutscene. After the cutscene, we see that we've unlocked a new form. This is our Archetype form, allowing us to do additional attacks, such as using Psych, which does wind-based damage to the enemy, or Day, which allows us to heal a little bit. We shouldn't need to heal throughout this fight. Instead, we'll just use Psych to do lots of damage to the enemy. There are many different archetypes that each have their own strengths and weaknesses. This one happens to be strong in wind but weak in fire. When the enemy attacks us with a wind attack, we will resist it and take less damage. But the enemy happens to have a weakness to the wind element on both its legs and the wings up top. So when we attack it using the archetype skill Psych, we're able to hit for a weakness. We will do additional damage, and also instead of using a full turn icon, we only use a half of a turn icon, and therefore we can attack twice in a row. That's really powerful, and you want to focus on hitting enemy weaknesses as much as possible. Not only will you be able to do more damage, but you'll also be able to attack more before the enemy gets to. That will allow you to get more of those unscathed triumphs, and definitely save your health and MP as you go throughout dungeons. The enemy is able to eat its own fruit, and that will heal him back to full health. That's kind of a problem for us, and we need to put a stop to it. So when it's our turn, we're going to use our turn to attack the fruit. If we can destroy them, then he won't be able to eat anymore and heal, and that will give us another advantage in the fight. So let's go ahead and start attacking the fruit. It'll take a couple of those psychs to destroy it, and once you go through a couple turns and destroy one of the fruit, then Gallica will speak up and she will give us a unique opportunity.
Take out those apple things? I think we'll regret it. You know, maybe there's something I can do. Hey, can you let me handle this?
In certain fights, Gallica will help us. We can just choose to let her do this. There's no downside to letting her do it. It only helps us. She rushes in, destroys all the fruit, and now we're able to focus on attacking the monster instead of worrying about that fruit anymore. So that's really all there is to this fight. We're going to finish it up just by doing the Psych attack over and over again until the enemy falls. It should only take a few turns, but I'll just let this one play out, and I'll see you at the end. Alright, here's the last attack. We'll do one more of those psychs, and it's going to be done. Upon defeating this enemy, we get some pretty good rewards: 100 experience, 250 archetype experience, 900 mag, 800 money, and 1 Gorlio's apple that we can sell for more money. We also leveled up to level 4 and got our archetype to level 2. Archetypes can go up to level 20, and once you get to that point, then they will be considered mastered and you get an additional stat boost. We also can attribute one more stat point to strength, just so it doesn't fall too far behind. Now let's go through our cutscenes and we will get our Allies United trophy or achievement as a result. On the night of June 5th, you're going to be in the northern border fort camp. What you want to do is to turn around immediately and run behind you. There's going to be another gold beetle on the base of this tree. Let's go ahead and grab this one. This one is highly missable, one of only a couple that are missable gold beetles. So make sure that you grab that one before you go back over to the campfire, and you're going to then choose to get some rest. And that will close out the night and spend time. Along with some other cutscenes, we're going to be transported to a new place called Academia. While we're there, we'll meet a man named Moore, and we're going to form a new bond with him, where at rank 1, we gain a new Seeker archetype ability, allowing us to study the Seeker in Academia, and we're also getting the Bright-Eyed Student, allowing us to change the archetypes that we have equipped, as long as we are in Academia. That will change a little bit later on, giving us access to changing up our archetypes wherever we want to, but for now we have to do it while we are in Academia, but we can get there a variety of ways. We want to keep leveling up our follower ranks to the max level of 8 for each of them. Not only is there a trophy for maxing out our followers, but also we get new abilities for them. We also earn the Shake on It trophy or achievement at this time. Well, after all that, we're going to have a few more cutscenes to go through, and then we'll pull up the world map where we'll be shown that there are the Nord mines ahead of us on our way back to Grand Trad. So let's go ahead and select the Nord mines, and we'll choose to go there next.
Don't let your guard down. Good.
Before we go down into the mines, we have to go through this forest area. Let's go straight ahead and then a little bit toward the left, and we'll see a large pack of dogs. Grius wants to talk to us about them, and we'll learn that if we use the Phasite ability from Gallica by pressing the L2 or the left trigger button, we're able to scan the enemies and see a little bit more about how strong they are. If their name shows up in blue, it means that they're much weaker than us. If it's yellow, they're about the same, and if it's red, they're tougher than us. When they're significantly weaker than us, we can press L1 to lock onto them, or the left bumper, and then we can press the normal attack button to dash toward them and take them out very quickly. It's a one-hit kill outside of combat. It doesn't give us as much experience doing it that way, but it's very quick to take out large groups of weak enemies without having to go through the turn-based combat. So kind of nice mechanic for us. We're also able to go around and we're able to find some other enemies that like to swoop down on us. They're the large crow-like enemies. We do have to engage them in combat and stun them, and then go into the normal squad-based combat. We get 2 more tutorials about battle mechanics. Number 1, you can retry battles, and number 2, you can automatically select what they're weak against. Well, we don't know what they're weak against when we press R2 or the right trigger button, so we can skip that for now. But if you press in the left analog stick, you're able to retry the battle. It brings you right back to the beginning, so if things go very poorly for you, then what happens is you can just go back in time and try it again. What's also nice is that anything you learn about their weaknesses or resistances will be remembered, so you can go through, figure out what they're weak against, then go back, retry the battle, and start again to make it go smoothly for you. Here's a map of the whole area. It looks like all the blue dots are scattered out mostly along the perimeter of this area, so let's go around and grab them all. Starting off, we're going to go to the right side and grab this treasure on the ground. Now we're going to go back to the main path and stick toward the left-hand side where we can grab this treasure off the ground. We'll turn around, run back through this pathway here over toward the left, and now that we see this big pack of dogs, we can rush forward and then we'll take all of them out. And once they're defeated, we'll turn toward the left and we'll take out this bird. A couple attacks will be enough to stun it, and then we can go into squad-based combat. So the initial attack will take away about half of his health, and now we just have to use some physical attacks to beat him. A very easy fight. And afterwards, we did get up to enough experience that we could level up to level 5, and we're going to put another point into strength. Well, I basically want to keep all of my stats relatively the same between strength, endurance, and agility, and keep magic up a little bit more. Just make sure that you're not putting points into luck, because we'll do that a different way later on. We'll continue along the path picking up treasure and fighting these moth enemies. They are weak to wind, so if you really want to or need to, go ahead and use your Seeker archetype in order to hit them with a wind attack. It'll do a lot more damage, and you'll also save one of your turns in battle. but for the most part, physical attacks are just fine. We'll grab this treasure on the ground and then head back over toward the main path. When you see the man standing there, turn left, run around the corner, and fight off this group of mods. We'll see that there's 3 of them here, and I really want to take them out before they are able to attack. They're currently stunned, so there's a good chance that they won't be able to attack us on their turn anyway, but with one of our wind attacks, we're able to take out one of them. Grius will take out another one, and then together between Strohl and the protagonist, we'll physical attack the last one until he's defeated. And now that that's done, we do get another archetype level, and we can pick up this item on the ground. We picked up a lot of things that we can sell, and luckily we have a merchant right here. So let's talk to him. We'll be going through a little bit of dialogue quickly, and then we'll have the option to buy and sell from him, or just to listen to what he has to say. We're going to choose to sell, and we can sell a lot of things and get 2,835 Re for it. He does sell some items that heal your HP, but nothing that restores your MP, so we're just going to leave that alone for now and keep the cash on hand, and then we can run a little bit further down the path and take out these weak enemies. And once you take them all out, there's going to be another one of those blue items on the ground. So let's pick that up and then turn around and keep going down the path. In this area there's going to be another moth, but if they're not interesting fights, we're just going to skip them for the sake of time. Just use the normal physical attacks to get through them quickly, and then grab this treasure on the ground before taking out the bird. We're almost done in this area. We're just going to run toward the north, taking out the group of dogs on the way, and then we'll keep going until we get this treasure chest on the ground, which is the last one we need. We'll take out one more bird enemy and then go along the path toward the northeast, where we'll get to the end of this section and move on into this boss fight. This battle serves to teach us how to be more defensive in battle. I think we've got the offense down pretty well, but we haven't learned a lot about how to defend ourselves against enemy attacks. So what we're able to do is to have these enemies attack us. There's no way to kill them at the beginning. Even if they get down to low health, they will not be completely eliminated from the fight. The enemies will turn their attention toward the protagonist. What we want to do is to press the circle button in order to guard. Guarding does a few different things. It prevents you from being hit strongly from your weakness. It also prevents you from taking a lot of damage, and it prevents you from getting any status ailments. So it's good to be defensive every now and then. You'll see that we're not taking much damage even from fire attacks, which is our weakness right now. There are also rows in the battle. The front row will do more damage with melee attacks, but also take more damage. The back row will do less damage, but also take less damage. And you can freely choose between the front and back in battle just by hitting the up and down directional buttons. If you know that there's a big attack incoming, move to the back row and defend to protect yourself, and then when it's your turn, you can move up to the front row and resume your attack to do the most damage possible. There's going to be a little bit of a push and a pull to combat in this game to make sure that you're doing the most damage you can and taking the least amount of damage that's possible. After that fight, we'll have some cutscenes. We'll skip through all of that and we'll find ourselves outside of the Nord mines. We'll run straight ahead and go down into the mines themselves. Once again, there's going to be lots of cutscenes and things. We'll skip through some of that and then just proceed on down from here. The enemies in this area are alerted to us and they're going to be running toward us. We can lock onto them, dash forward, and take them out. We should be able to kill them before we have to go into squad-based combat. As you run through the very linear tunnel, go over toward the right side and you'll be able to break these boxes to grab another item off the ground. And now go back to the main path, keep on running down. As you go down, there's going to be some more enemies to take out, and there's also an opening on the left-hand side. You can ignore that opening on the left-hand side because there's really nothing in it. We'll go all the way to the end of this hallway and into the next area. There is a very large story sequence that I don't want to spoil for you, so I'll once again invite you to pause it and then resume when the battle begins. Strohl is now in control of his own archetype. This is the warrior, and it focuses on using slash damage as a melee attack. It doesn't have magic attack. The seeker archetype with the protagonist is a hybrid between magic and physical. This new warrior archetype is only physical attacks. What you want to do is take out his helpers on the right and left side. They're mages that like to boost his strength and defense and things. So instead we're going to take them out really quickly, and then we can just focus on the main boss himself, the man in the middle. This fight's pretty easy. All you have to do is use the psych attack with the protagonist, and you're going to use diagonal slash with Strohl. Grius is not able to be controlled, so he'll just do whatever he wants to. And in just a couple rounds going back and forth, keep using Psych and Diagonal Slash back to back, and eventually this enemy will be defeated and you'll get your rewards. And there's the last hit, the boss goes down. We do get a spoil from this fight called the Captain's Uniform. It's a new good piece of armor for us. The protagonist and the archetype leveled up once, and Strohl leveled up twice. We're going to put one more point into strength for the protagonist, but we don't get to choose what Strohl's stats are. Those are automatically allocated. We gained a new ability with the Seeker called Tarokaja that allows us to boost one ally's strength in battle. We gained a new follower with Strohl, and that gives us the ability to become the warrior archetype. So we can equip this now really whenever we want to on any character that we control, and the warrior is found down in the lower right part of the archetype map. We're then transported automatically back to Academia, where we can talk to Moore again, and we also gain a follower in Gallica. This allows us to learn the Mage archetype, which is very good, and I would highly recommend it, especially in the early part of the game. The Mage archetype is found in the upper right hand corner of the archetype tree. Moore will explain that we can adjust the different archetypes that we have equipped. So with Grius, what I want to do is to equip him with the warrior archetype. He does not have one assigned to him already, so we're going to choose to go down toward the bottom right corner of this archetype tree, and we're going to select the warrior one and have him study it so that he himself can become a warrior. Every time you study a new archetype for a character, it does cost a little bit of mag, sometimes a lot of mag, but that cost can get discounted if you have a higher follower rank with that character who represents the archetype. So let's go ahead and teach Grius the warrior archetype, spending 500 mag to do so, and we'll get a little cutscene where it shows him transforming into the warrior archetype. I'm going to skip out most of those cutscenes going forward just because they are unskippable and I don't want you to have to watch the same ones over and over again. Now that Grius is all set, what we want to do is to change the archetypes on both Strohl and the protagonist. For Strohl, I'm going to move him from the warrior up to the mage archetype. We'll teach him that one, and that will allow him to use some magic that is elemental in nature, and that really allows us to hit the enemy weak points much easier. So he starts off with just a basic fire spell, but by the time he hits rank 2, he can learn an ice ability, and that's very good for some upcoming fights. For the protagonist, we're going to leave the Seeker archetype behind and also make him into a mage. We want to get both of these characters to at least rank 2 before our next boss fight, because that boss will be weak to ice attacks, and we definitely want to exploit that weakness. Well, now that we have 2 mages and 1 warrior, we're all set for the party composition, but we want to make one more change, and that is their formation in battle. Like what I said before, there's a front and a back row. You can go down to the party command in the menu, and by hitting the L1 or R1 buttons or left and right bumpers, you're able to shift them from the front row to the back row and vice versa. We're going to put the protagonist and Strohl in the back row and leave Grius in the front row. That way he can do a lot of melee damage, but our mages who focus on magic are able to use those attacks while also protecting them against enemy physical attacks because they are a little bit weaker on the defensive side. Well, now that we're back out into the mines, we'll see that there's going to be a phantom over on the left. Whenever you see more like this in the phantom form, you're able to talk to him and be transported back to Academia. That's how you're able to change your archetypes for now. Let's run down the path a little bit further, getting into a cutscene, and then after that, go around the fence to the right, and you're able to grab this item off the ground. Now let's turn around and go back the way we came, further down the path and into the deeper parts of the mines. We see that there's a new enemy in front of us, and after a little bit of dialogue, the game will teach us how to do an auto recovery. You just press the up button on the directional pad and you will automatically recover, but that uses up some items and things, so it's not really useful to do that. When you attack with the mage in overworld combat, you actually attack in 360 degrees, and that's really useful for taking out groups of enemies all around you. These green slime monsters are weak to fire attacks, so use the bot spell with both the protagonist and Strohl, and you'll take him out in no time. We'll get our reward, which is boosted because it's an unscathed triumph. And now let's take a quick look at the map of this area that I already charted out for us. It looks like we've got two treasure chests in this area, one in the north and one in the south, and there's also some blue items scattered around the map. Let's start by grabbing the items on our right. So we'll turn to the right and then grab this blue item on the ground. You can defeat these enemies if you want to, or just avoid them, and then you want to destroy these boxes and go through the passageway. We need to defeat these enemies to get through the passageway, so I'll defeat them in squad combat, but it wasn't anything new, so we'll move on from there. If you use a phase sight on a treasure chest, it will outline it, and you can see that there's a white outline here, and that means that it's safe to open. It can also have a red outline, and that means that there's an enemy waiting inside of it. So if you want to do a quick scan of a treasure chest before opening it, you'll know whether it's safe or whether you should make sure that you're healed up before opening that treasure chest. We'll keep going along the right-hand side, blowing up some more boxes and grabbing this treasure chest. And now I want to show you what happens when the enemy attacks us first in the overworld. If they are about the same strength or stronger than us, it will initiate combat and they get a full turn first. So they're able to do lots of damage to us and start the battle off to their advantage. However, if the enemy is weaker than us, where we could kill it in one hit in the overworld, then it will not initiate combat. It will just do a little bit of damage to us. So this is where it explains what the enemy ambush is like, and now combat will resume as usual. We'll go ahead and attack these enemies' weakness by casting the bot spell against all of these enemies, and we'll target all of their weaknesses and destroy them pretty quickly. The enemies do resist slash, so don't worry about using that. Instead, you just want to use those fire spells. If you want to pass someone's turn, just press R1 or the right bumper button, and then you'll skip that turn. It only uses half of a turn icon to do that. We reached level 7 here. I got 1 point in strength already, and I'm going to put 1 more into magic just to keep boosting that up. Now we're going to run forward across this path, and then we're going to attack this snake-like enemy ahead of us. These guys are weak to ice spells, but we don't have one of those just yet, so instead we're just going to focus on attacking them normally. We'll want to bring our mages up to the front row so that they do more damage with their physical attacks, and because they also resist fire, it wouldn't be such a good idea to cast our fire spells. We'll save the MP and just focus on using normal attacks. Because we didn't finish them off in the first round, but we did stun them in the ambush, then they are still stunned going into the second round. So we basically get 2 turns in a row. The enemies sometimes can recover from stun during the first turn if they incur damage, but we don't finish them off. So ideally you want to eliminate the enemies on that first turn, or hold off your attack a little bit just so that they don't recover from stun. We'll keep moving through here and take out these dogs on the way, and there's also going to be another blue item on the ground. Here's another snake enemy that we can fight and destroy. I'm just going to skip this battle because nothing really interesting happens with it. At this point, I got all of our archetypes that we have equipped up to rank 2, and that's good because it teaches the mages the Blizz spell. So not only can we attack now with a fire spell, but we have the Blizz ice spell, and that means that we can attack a different elemental affinity and hit a new weakness. We'll grab the item on the ground, and now we're going to go through this passageway and eliminate these snakes. We'll go into squad-based combat, doing a good amount of damage as the ambush, and now we can use our Blizz spell to hit these snakes' weakness. We'll do lots of damage and finish them off very quickly, and we'll be able to move on from this fight. Make sure that you're always trying to ambush the enemies and get those unscathed triumphs, because we want to get the trophies related to doing that. I'll take out this snake enemy, but skip the battle because nothing interesting happened, and I'll grab the treasure chest behind him to get 3 Magla pills so that we can restore a little bit of MP. Now let's leave here and we'll take out this snake enemy, once again skipping that fight, and now we're going to go all the way to the end where we can grab our final blue item on the ground. You'll see that this enemy is now weaker than it was before because we've gotten stronger, and when it attacks us in the overworld we do not get stunned, so those enemies can no longer ambush us, they just do a little bit of damage instead. After a little cutscene, we can proceed forward. There's going to be a small crawl space ahead of us, and if we look at the map, in the next section we're going to have a treasure chest on our left side and a blue item on the ground on the right side. So we'll go through the crawl space and take out the enemies in this area. We can eliminate the green enemies in the overworld, but not the red snakes. So we'll initiate combat with one of these with an ambush, and when enemies are grouped together in the overworld, they can actually join each other, or they can call in reinforcements, so you can actually get waves of enemies or face larger groups than normal. So here we've got a couple snakes and a couple of the green slimes. What we want to do is just cast the Ice Blizz spell onto the snakes and the Fire Bot spell onto the slimes, and we can all hit their weaknesses no problem and take them out without any effort, and we're able to still get an unscathed triumph even though we were outnumbered in this fight by defeating every enemy on the first turn. We've gained enough experience for Strohl to level up. He's now level 6, and we'll keep going along the path. We'll go through a crawl space, and on the other side there's a couple dogs that we can take out, and there's going to be the blue item on the ground. Now let's turn around, go back through that same crawl space, and now turn to our right. We'll go across the cart tracks into the other crawl space on the far side. We'll take out the teeth over here, and then there's a treasure chest that we can open up to get a reward. We pick up some iron gauntlets, which raise our strength by 2 points. That could be good to put on someone like Grius. Let's turn around and then go back through the crawl space. We'll turn toward our left and go to the middle path this time. We go through one more crawl space, and then that will take us to the path that we just have to follow all the way down until the screen transitions into the next area. There's a new enemy in this next area. It's a worm that burrows underground. You want to get close to it and wait till the screen flashes a little bit, and then press circle to roll away. That way you can bait it to come out and then ambush it from there. These guys are pretty tough. They have a lot of HP, but we can use that new Blizz spell that we have to hit the weakness, and we can use a couple casts of that to eliminate this enemy. You cannot attack them while they're underground inside that dust cloud. You have to wait until they pop up to actually hit them. So just get close, wait till the screen flashes, and then roll away so that you can get the ambush on them and they don't ambush you. And there's another unscathed triumph for our record, and this gets us to the point where we actually get our archetypes up to rank 3, which is good because that teaches our warrior a new passive ability called Heat Up. This boosts our physical skill attack power by 10%, but that increases the percentage if there are more characters with a warrior equipped as well, or anything in the warrior lineage. We'll take a quick look at the map. There's some items scattered about here, so we'll just go down into the different passageways, collecting all of those things, and then we're going to head up and out the right-hand side into the next area. So to begin, we'll go left, break through the boxes, grab this treasure, and now we're going to keep hugging that left side wall, going down here, and getting this treasure chest. We get something called a mining uniform. That's a new piece of armor, and the description says that it can be purified at a church. We'll look into that a little bit later on once we get back to town. The mage's attacks allow us to take out groups of enemies all at the same time, which is very convenient. Grius gets to level 8, we'll grab this item, and there's one more item behind these boxes. Once we grab that, we've collected everything in this first section. Now let's continue down the path, sticking toward the left-hand side. We'll break these boxes, destroy the dogs, and then grab the item on the ground. Now we'll go back to the main path, and we're going to stick toward the left side, going through a crawl space and into the next area. I'll defeat these enemies, but skip the squad battle because nothing interesting happens. Let's keep going along the path. We'll see some teeth enemies pop out, but we can defeat them all with one mage attack. We'll grab the Magla pill off the ground and then keep circling this area around. We're going to go toward the north first and grab this item on the ground. Be careful of the worm waiting underneath. We can just ignore him for now. We'll break through the boxes on the east side to grab the scrap metal, and now that the enemy tried to attack us and popped out, we can attack him. We'll defeat him very quickly and then move on. It was at this time that I gained enough experience that I leveled up again with the protagonist. So the protagonist is now level 8. We'll assign his points, and we already have 1 point in magic, and we'll put another point in to bring him up to 14 points. Now there's 2 more things that we want to grab here. Follow the path around through the crawl space, and there's going to be 1 blue item on the right side that you can pick up, and then you can eliminate these snakes. You want to be a little bit careful because they can still ambush us. That's why I'm being a little bit defensive here, doing a hit and run tactic. But let's eliminate them, and then after the fight, we'll see that we did get our archetypes to level up again. They are now going to be rank 4. Let's keep running forward and destroy the boxes in front of us. Behind the boxes is a treasure chest. When we open it up, we'll get a guard's talisman that will increase our endurance by 3 points. Again, that's something to put onto a character like Grius. If you sometimes struggle to see the crawl spaces, use Phase Sight to highlight them in green. It's a great way to find those hidden passageways in dungeons, which can sometimes be pretty tricky. Now let's continue along the path toward the north, and when we go forward, we'll see that there's a door in front of us, and that's a special room called a Magla Hollow. You can essentially think of it as a safe room in an otherwise hostile dungeon. When you go inside of it, you'll have a couple options for what you can do. You can save the game or make a record. You can talk to your allies and kind of strategize about what's going on in there. You can also visit academia. And finally, you can just choose to leave. So you got a couple options of what you want to do here. Feel free to save the game. We do have a minor boss fight coming up. Otherwise, you can choose to do whatever you want to or just resume exploring. Back outside, let's turn around toward our right and we'll grab this item on the ground. It's a blessed water which allows us to purify items at church, and that's good because we also have a trophy related to that coming up. We'll go down the path and see that there's an ominous black smoke coming out of the bottom of this door. It basically tells us that there's something bad behind it, but we're going to go in anyway, and we'll see that there's going to be a new boss waiting just behind this door. This boss is called Homofulquillo, and it's much easier than the last human that we fought when we first awakened our archetype. This boss has a big weakness that we can exploit, and we can basically get through this whole fight without any real effort. We want to cast the Ice Blizz spell on him because he is weak to ice, and then we can follow that up with Grius using Diagonal Slash to do good damage. By hitting his weakness twice with this Blizz spell and then using Diagonal Slash, we're actually able to turn our 3 turn icons into 6 attacks every time it's our turn in battle. And that should be able to take him down to about half of his health. So really, it only requires 2 turns in total in order to get through this fight. Well, he's not going to be too happy. He'll use Hyper to start concentrating, and then he's going to focus on targeting everything in the front row. So he didn't actually attack us, but now we're going to finish him off with another barrage of Blizz spells and Diagonal Slashes, and this boss never stood a chance.
Hold back! Freeze! You hit their weakness!
No. Blade warrior. Slash it.
And there you go, another boss down, and it was even an unscathed triumph. So that's pretty awesome for us, and that got us enough experience for Grius and Strohl to level up again.
Thank God, anything left to live.
After some cutscenes, we're going to go across the minecart tracks to grab this item on the ground, and then continue down the path into the next area. There's just some more slime enemies in this area and no more items to grab, so let's just go through and eliminate all of the slimes quickly and then move on down the path until we get a cutscene. We see in the cutscene that there is a large sleeping dragon just in front of us, and if he wakes up, he's going to want to attack us, which normally would be a bad thing, but we actually do want to fight him. The game suggests that you should sneak around, not being seen by the monsters who could wake him up, but we're going to ignore all of that advice. Instead, what we're going to do is to quickly make sure that we are healed up and we have a good amount of MP. You honestly probably don't need to fill up your MP, so save that if you're still moderately high on MP, but if you're pretty low after doing lots of fights, then you will want to make sure that both your health and MP are filled up. And then once you're ready, let's go over and fight this large dragon.
No, stop. Can't say I was expecting you, Doc, to fight. You're either bloody bold or too confident for your own good.
We're going to fight this dragon the same way that we just fought that last human boss. We're going to attack using the Blizz spells with our mages, and we're going to use Diagonal Slash with Grius. That's really all there is to this. We're able to hit his ice weakness and do lots of damage with that physical Diagonal Slash, and the boss can't do a whole lot to us. He can attack us with some powerful physical attacks, but we're definitely able to withstand those pretty well. Grius has a lot of defense, and our other characters are in the back row. If they happen to get hit by one of his fire spells, it's not a big deal either. We're able to get through this fight really without doing any healing at all. Just keep up the offense and you'll be able to finish him off very quickly.
Warrior! The blade!
Come forth, royal soul!
You hit their weakness!
No holding back! The power of ice!
Now let's go. With one strike! Held back
Freeze!
too much.
Freeze!
Mage! Be frozen!
You hit their weak point!
Warrior! Slash it! Still standing.
Let's ice!
And there you go, that dragon is defeated very easily. We get lots of experience, enough to get our protagonist up to level 9, and he gains 1 point in endurance, but we're going to give him 1 more point in agility, just to keep the endurance and agility at the same amount. After some cutscenes, we'll be able to go forward and grab the items on the ground, and there's a treasure chest nearby which contains a very powerful weapon called Dragon's Indignation. We can even power that up by purifying it at a church, and that will add the fire element to it as well. So it's a really great thing to grab, and now we're going to go around and grab the other blue items off the ground. Once you have everything on the platform where the dragon was, there's going to be 2 more items, one on the right side path and one on the left side path on the circle around the center area. Just go around, grab those 2 items, and then we're going to exit the area by going out the easternmost side. When you exit this area, there's going to be a little bit of a cutscene, and then you're going to be in somewhat of a mini game. We have to run along the bridge, avoiding the boxes. What I like to do is to stay in the middle or go down toward the left side of the screen. Just go back and forth between those, dodging the boxes. It's pretty simple to get to the end without hitting any of them. And when you get past this last one, then the sequence is over and you'll be safe. During the following cutscene, you'll get a new trophy called Out of the Fire by completing the Nord Mines. Now on June 6th at nighttime, we'll find ourselves back at camp. You can talk to your other teammates if you want to. Otherwise, just go forward, interact with the campfire, and choose to rest. On June 7th, you're showed the world map. We're at the Nord Mines. We just have to go over toward Grand Trad, and then we're going to select that and move over there.
Great. Let's move.
Now that we're back in Grand Trad, we're going to run forward and go into a new area that's called Sunshade Row. We'll head down the stairs, and there's a little bit of dialogue when we get to the bottom. Now we're going to run forward, and we'll find that there's a pompous man waiting on a bench just up ahead. He looks different from some of the other citizens. We'll take a second just to talk to him real quick. He's not that important right now, but we'll be seeing him later on as well. After we talk to him, we're going to continue down the path that we were going on, that is directly toward the east, and we're going to go down to the very end where the quest marker is waiting for us, and we'll want to go into the building on our left side. You'll see Gria standing out in the street. Go to the door right behind him to enter the Hushed Honeybee Inn. After some cutscenes, we'll be asked to go check on Maria. She's a little girl who lives in the Hushed Honeybee Inn. To do that, we're going to head down past her room, and we're going to go down the stairs. We'll find her standing against the wall on the right, so go and have a talk with her. After some cutscenes, then Maria will become one of our followers and will unlock rank 1 of her bond. We also get access to a new archetype called the Healer Archetype. As you can probably guess, it is good at healing your party members in battle as well as removing negative status effects, and it specializes in using light magic to do good damage against enemies weak to light and the undead. This is where the game teaches us that we can fast travel between places. All we have to do is open up the map and choose a new place to warp to. The only caveat is we've had to have been there before already. Let's start running down the path and up the stairs. There's going to be an alleyway on your right side that takes you to a special store, but we're not able to get there yet because the man will block our path. That's okay. The game will keep us on the straight and narrow path running down the same alleyway that we were going before. Let's run forward, and we'll see that around the area where the pompous man was before, there's going to be Morris Phantom, and we can use that now to transport ourselves to Academia. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's go forward and talk to Moore. He's going to give us a new quest, and what we have to do is to level up that healer archetype up to rank 10. This will help to grow our bond with Moore, and he's going to give us various archetype related tasks throughout the game in order to rank up with him. So let's go ahead and change the archetype equipped to the protagonist. We're going to take off the mage archetype that we have, and in its place we're going to be equipping the healer archetype. The node for studying the healer archetype is found just to the left of the heart. Let's go ahead and choose to study that. It's going to cost us 1,000 mag, but it's well worth it. Now with our new archetype equipped, the game will automatically give us the best equipment for it that we've picked up so far, and now we're going to go ahead and leave Academia. We have a few errands to run before we continue on with the main story. From Morris Phantom, you're going to want to run straight toward the north down this alley and then over toward the northeast. As you go through here, you're going to get stopped by someone who is a mag dealer. Basically, what you can do is to sell your mag and get reeve in return. So if you're strapped for cash but have a surplus of mag, go ahead and do that exchange. But for the most part, just leave this guy alone and keep your mag. Now we're going to keep running toward the northeast. We'll go behind the staircase, and we're going to find another gold beetle waiting for us right here. So let's go ahead and pick that up, and then we're going to continue on up the staircase all the way to the top. When you get to the top, there's going to be a potion seller right here. Let's go on inside this building, and there's going to be a sack of spices just to the north side of this room. You'll see it has a golden glow to it. We'll go ahead and interact with this. We'll stick our hand into it, and we will grab a gold beetle from here as well. There is another gold beetle in the far right side of this area, but it's blocked behind some bags that we can't get rid of just yet. So hold on to that one for now. We'll come back and get that one at a later time. Let's exit this potion cellar, and we're going to go over toward the right side, climbing up the stairs and going into the next area. This will take us back to the Regalith Grand Cathedral area. Let's start by running forward and then over toward the left side. We want to run to the next intersection and then turn right. There's going to be a big crowd over by the cathedral entrance, so we want to go and join that. Once we do that, we'll get a lot of cutscenes, and it's a big spoiler, so once again, I would invite you to pause the video and to then resume it once we get into the next fight. So go ahead, pause the video now if you want to, and then resume it when you're in the fight. We find ourselves now in a fight against a large number of undead enemies. They will automatically critical hit Strohl, and then that will teach you about the anxiety status effect. Basically what that does is if we want to use one of our archetype abilities, we won't get to choose which one. The game will assign it for us. That can be pretty bad, so you typically don't want to use your archetype if you're afflicted with anxiety. The higher the difficulty level is of the game, the more likely you are to get afflicted by anxiety in battle. The enemy will spend most of their turn just buffing themselves, which is good for us. It limits the damage we're receiving, and then it's going to be our turn. I'll show you what happens when you try to use an archetype ability while you have anxiety. You can't control it. Strohl casts Blizz, which the enemy blocks, and if the enemy blocks, dodges, or repels one of our attacks, we lose 2 turn icons, which basically means that our turn is over, and the enemy will get 2 turns in a row effectively. So that's not so good, but when it's our turn again, we're going to turn the tide on them. Because we have that healer archetype, we have the Hama spell. Let's go ahead and use that to injure the enemies. They are weak against it, which means that we only use half of a turn, and now we can use the bot spell to attack the enemy again because now Strohl is not anxious. We'll use Hama one more time with our protagonist using that healer archetype, and then Strohl will once again use the bot fire spell to take out the 4th enemy this turn. That leaves only one of them. He's going to do a weak attack against us, not doing a whole lot of damage, and then we can finish the fight. So just to recap the 2 main lessons that we learned from this fight: number 1, if you're afflicted with anxiety, do not try to use your archetype abilities, and number 2, the dead are weak to light spells. Let's continue on from here. There are some cutscenes I'm just going to skip through real quick, and then we'll find ourselves going into the Regalith Grand Cathedral. Our goal here is just to run straight ahead. We're going to be following the woman with the red hair all the way down this path, picking up the item along the way, and we'll go into the cathedral for some more cutscenes that I'm just going to skip over quickly that aren't too important. We'll take a quick look at the map. It looks like there are some various treasures and items gathered around here. What we want to do is go forward and over toward the right side. That will take us up a floor where a treasure chest is waiting for us, and then we'll come back down going up the other left side staircase to continue on from here. Let's go through here, grab the 3 items off the ground right in front of us. We can take down these enemies pretty quickly. Just one attack in the overworld should be enough to take them down. And it's nice because we don't actually have to engage them in squad battles. These guys are weak to strike attacks, and technically the healer's weapon, this little mace, is a strike weapon, so we're able to do good damage to them and knock them out in one hit. We'll go all the way up the stairs on the right side, and we can open up this treasure chest. This is a breeze igniter, and when it's equipped, it allows us to use wind magic, even if our archetype doesn't normally support that. Let's go down the stairs and then turn toward the right. We'll go across this middle section and over toward the stairs on the far side. We'll climb up them and grab one of these items on the right hand side, and then we'll keep going up the stairs. We'll get a shortcut scene where we see a woman is being attacked by some more undead enemies. We'll take them out pretty quickly. We learned how to deal with these guys in the previous battle. All we have to do is cast 1 bot spell and 1 Hama, and those enemies are eliminated. It's another unscathed triumph, giving us a bonus to experience, and that's enough to get Strohl up to level 9. We'll continue on straight ahead across this red carpet and go down the stairs in front of us. When we get to the bottom, be careful because there's the enemy waiting to ambush you just on the left side. We'll take him out and then go all the way down this walkway to the other side, taking out the other enemy. There are 3 blue items on the ground to grab in this area, and once you have all of those collected, we'll go back up the stairs the way that we came. We'll take out 1 more enemy along the way and then turn toward the left to go up here, grabbing the item, and then go up the stairs. At the top there's going to be a variety of enemies that we can take out, so we'll do that and then grab the item on the right side. And now we're going to go up the stairs on the far side of that room. Let's go in this door and we'll be inside of a room with a lot of items to grab. On the right side there's going to be 2 blue items that we can pick up. Now go to the other side of the room and there's going to be another blue item behind these barrels. There's also a crawl space that we want to go through, and we'll get a little scene that I'm just going to skip. In this room there's going to be a treasure chest that we can open up. Inside of it is a very useful item called a Balm of Life. It can not only resurrect a party member who falls in battle, but also fully restore their HP. We'll grab 2 more items in this area, and then we want to go back through that crawl space that we went through before. There are 2 doors on the other side. The door on the left is the one that we came through. We want to go through the door on the right that is currently closed. So we'll go through it to go up the stairs and over toward the right side, keep looping around all the way till we get to the top, and then we can use this door to go into the next area. We'll proceed forward along these stairs and we'll go all the way to the far side of this area. There's nothing that we need to collect and no enemies to fight here. Just keep running all the way down the path to the end and then go through the doors. And that pretty much concludes this area. There's going to be some more cutscenes and stuff when you go through the door, but this video won't spoil any of that. We'll just pick up back when we're outside of this area. The game will keep track of your popularity ranking. It's basically a score showing how many people in the world like you and support you. You can also cash in your better popularity rankings for some mag along the way, and you can do that every day. Our current popularity ranking is 8,121, which means that there's a lot of people who are a lot more popular than we are. It kind of reminds me of my high school days. Alright, let's keep running down the path straight ahead of us. We're going to go past the recruitment center and then stick over toward the right side because there's going to be an alleyway that leads back, and that will take us into the back entrance of the cathedral. Now we just have to keep running forward straight down the path and into the next area. We'll be asked whether we want to go down in here. We're going to say yes, let's go, and that's going to use up one of our days. We're now in the Mausoleum. We're going to continue down the path straight ahead of us. If you look at the minimap, there are some rooms off to the left side and the right side, and you might even see that there's some blue items around here. Unfortunately, they're behind locked doors. We can't go in there yet, but we will be getting them a little bit later on. Let's continue straight ahead, and you'll see that there's a door with this ominous black smoke coming out of it. That means that there's something bad behind it, and you should know that there's a massive spoiler here, so once again, pause the video if you don't want that spoiled for you, and we'll pick up in a few more seconds. We're now in a boss battle, and we'll see that Hulkenberg has gained her archetype. This is the Knight archetype, and we also learn that we can use synthesis skills. It's basically using 2 characters or 3 characters at the same time to do a more powerful attack. In order to do that, you will hit the synthesis button and then choose one of the ones available to you. What you need to do is to use one of these synthesis abilities to get a new trophy. Upon using your first synthesis skill, you get the United Front trophy. There is another trophy that is for using 50 unique synthesis skills, so we'll be using those a lot throughout the coming fights. Using synthesis skills are pretty costly because they use MP and a turn icon from every person who's involved with that. So it is costly, but you also get more powerful attacks and attacks that can do lots of damage to many different enemies. So they can be a great way to wipe out an entire group of enemies with just one attack. I'm going to use a synthesis skill from the healer. This is Mahama, and it does light damage against all opponents. We only have one opponent now though, so it's a little bit of a waste. However, we do get one more use of the synthesis skills on our way to using 50 of them. This is Protect Guard. It allows us to nullify one physical attack that the enemy throws at us, and that can come in pretty handy. We'll just have Strohl attack, and it will be the enemy's turn. He's going to attack Hulkenberg, but she blocks it and takes away the rest of his turn icons, and it's going to be back to our turn once again. I'm going to keep passing the turn over to Strohl so that I can use his synthesis ability. I have 2 spells, Gabat and Gabliz. Each of those will attack all enemies for their corresponding element. So there's Gabat, and then the next time around I want to use Gabliz, and that will be a total of 5 unique synthesis skills that we use in just this first battle. This enemy is considered an undead enemy, so you can use the Hama spell to hit the weakness, and that will save you a half of a turn icon. We used Gabat last time, now let's use Gabliz, and that concludes all of the synthesis skills that we want to use for this battle. And now we'll go and fight him in a more conventional way. What we can use is Hama to do good damage to him and also give us half of a turn icon. After that, it's going to be Hulkenberg's turn, and I'll show you what she can do with her archetype, the Knight. She has a skill called Knight's Proclamation. It draws the enemy's attention to whoever uses this skill, so the enemy will be focused on attacking Hulkenberg. It's good to use this on a character who has high defense or high evasion, so that they will take less damage from the enemy. We'll use Bot and Hama to do some more damage, and then it's going to be Hulkenberg's turn again. Because I still have half of a turn icon, I can now move her to the back row and also guard, and now when the enemy attacks, it's going to do a lot less damage to her, and you'll see that it only does 4 damage and 2 damage, so we only took 6 damage that entire round. Now let's go ahead and finish off the fight. We'll use another Bot and then a Hama, and this enemy will be eliminated. And there you go, that was a pretty easy fight. We got 1 new trophy out of it, and we're about 10% of the way to another trophy. We do get our rewards now, and that was enough to get our protagonist up to level 10. I'll put 1 point into endurance just to keep it tied with agility, and we'll also see that our mage gained a rank and learned the Conde electric damage spell. After a little cutscene, we're going to be on June 11th at nighttime, and we'll find ourselves back at the Hushed Honeybee Inn with Hulkenberg. She becomes a new permanent comrade for us and an ally in battle, and we also get to have her join us as a follower, and she will be rank 1, giving us access to the Knight archetype for use on our other characters as well. This archetype is found on the left side of the archetype tree. Then after some more cutscenes, we'll skip ahead to where Gallica ranks up, and we're now rank 2 with her, giving us the Mage Enlightenment ability, allowing us to study the Mage archetype for less, and we also get Followers Echoes, meaning that we can hear the call of our followers from further away, and that helps us to know when our other followers are ready to rank up. After all that work, I think we deserve a good rest, so let's interact with the bed that will end the day, and we also find ourselves transported to Academia overnight. Here we have an interaction with Moore again. He's going to give us an item that allows us to level up our archetypes and gain experience without actually having to go into battle. And that's really useful. There's a variety of ways to get these things over time. There's even ways to farm them, and that makes it really easy to get our archetypes to rank up, unlocking new archetypes as well as gaining new skills for them. Moore also tells us about his cat, who can assist us in ways inside of dungeons going forward, so that's pretty useful. And with all that done, we're going to move on to June 12th in the afternoon. We get a new quest called Necromancer Takedown, and we get 10 days to do that. If we don't complete it in time, it is a game over. However, we'll definitely do it long before then. Here's where the game stresses the importance of time management. Like I said, you have to complete the main quest within a certain period of time, but the days and nights that you have in between now and the deadline are up to you. I'm going to show you what I believe to be the best course through the game, making sure that we get all of our followers up to the max ranks. We're going to be completing all of the side quests, doing lots of other things required for trophies, and it's going to be a really good time together. This is where I'm going to end part 1. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and are looking forward to the next part. If you are, be sure to give me a like and also comment down below letting me know what you enjoyed about this video, as well as if there's anything that you think you would like to see different about the future parts of this video. Totally open to that kind of feedback. I want to give you the kind of guide that you want. So if that sounds good to you, make sure that you subscribe so that you can stay up to date with the rest of this series, and I'll see you soon for part 2. Until then, thanks for watching and have a good day.